First off, I want to give a shout out to the name. As you can see, the A and I are capitalized because it's a machine learning project, and it's rAIse because we're doing poker stuff. I put a lot of thought in the name, so pretty proud of this one. But yeah, basically our goal is to create a poker bot that can play Texas Hold'em, no limit Hold'em, and the main technique that we're using is something called reinforcement learning. So that the general gist of reinforcement learning is kind of like a raw form of AI where you have a kind of agent in an environment. So your model is trying to learn the environment and trying to achieve a reward. So it's kind of like based on how what people would think like a newborn kid would do in a world, right? You try and like have an objective and you learn things on your own to try to achieve that objective. So obviously in poker, you're trying to earn money, and that's the kind of reward we're going off of. I'm going to quickly go through some basic poker terms and rules, so everyone's on the same page. In poker, or rather, should I say no limit Texas Hold'em, each player is dealt 2 cards, and those are called the hold cards, in addition to the 5 community cards that you can use to make your hand. So we call the first 3 cards that come out the flop, the 4th card that comes out the turn, and the last card that comes out the river. I have no clue why they're called these things, but that's just what poker players call them. And out of these 7 cards, your 2 hold cards and these 5 community cards, you're trying to make the best 5 hands you can. And so some examples in order of best to worst, you have things like the royal straight flush, quads, full house, straights, flushes. Basically, stuff that looks pretty probably means you have a good hand. And then what's important to us is that what can the model do, right? What are the actual actions in poker? And what's cool is that in poker, there's actually not too many things you can do. And so it's very interesting that people there's a wide range of skill, even though there's only a limited amount of information you can have and a limited amount of actions you can have. And so these are the 5 basic actions you can take. You can bet chips, you can call, which is also betting the same amount your opponent has bet, folding, raising, and checking, which is checking is like betting 0. But yeah, with that, we're going to get into the sub teams and what our team members have been working on this past semester. And so we're going to divide into kind of 2 segments. The first, we're going to talk about all the models that we use. So you guys are going to see a lot of acronyms, and we're going to explain what each of them are. We have DQN, which is deep Q learning, one of the basic reinforcement learning techniques that you use. Then we move on to 2 specific to poker. We have NFSP and CFR, which stand for non-fictitious self-play and counterfactual regret minimization, respectively. And then we are going to talk about the 2 poker engines that we used. Namely, one of them is called RL Card, and the second is PyPoker Engine. And finally, we're going to end off with a cool little demo where you guys can actually play against the bot and each other.
Yep, so the primary framework that we used for all of this is RL Card. And essentially what this is, it's a Python framework that allows us to put agents into these card games and these information imperfect games like poker in our case. And what it allows us to do is to create all these different players using all these different RL techniques that we'll talk about in a little bit. And we can train them, we can play with them. And in RL Card, we have that the reward of each of our models is actually calculated based on the big blinds per hand. So one thing we're going to go over first is about like the 3 different models that we trained through RL Card. That's DQN, NFSP, and CFR.
So first, DQN, which stands for Deep Q Learning. This is based on the idea of a Q function or the Q values, which measure the expected reward that an agent would obtain from a certain state after taking a certain action. And with deep Q learning, the model uses a neural network to approximate this Q function. So it takes in a state, which in our case is an embedding of the cards that are on the table, as well as the chips of each of the players. And it returns probabilities for taking each of the actions. So like folding, raising, calling, checking. And when we train the DQN, the other players are fixed as random agents.
So another approach is about NFSP, which is essentially neural fictitious self-play. And what this is it's going to be a deep RL approach for these imperfect information games where it learns approximate Nash equilibrium. And what a Nash equilibrium is essentially a stable state of a system involving like the interaction between all these different participants, in our case, all the different players within a particular poker game. And our agent for NFSP has two neural networks, and one is trained by RL by playing all these other agents. So based on whatever agents we train it against. And then the other one is trained by the supervised learning, where it looks at its own behavior. So we can take a look at some of our results from MFSP. So we initially trained against random agents, and what we saw was that the model was very, very aggressive, and it was really prone to like bluffing, going all in, and really didn't like the fold. We can observe from these like graphs like how the reward changed over time. And when we compare like the two models about NFSP and DQN and we put them against each other, what we can observe from this data that we have in this table is that essentially NFSP is able to take more games off of DQN, but ultimately DQN has wins that are like far better because you can see the net chips for DQN are much higher. So NFSP is a lot more aggressive while DQN is able to put some more strategy into its decisions.
These memes are brought to you by Dominic, by the way. They're A quality memes, so these are very nice.
So yeah, now I'm going to talk a little bit about the additional experiments we did throughout the semester. So starting with the first kind of four, which are all NFSPs. These models were all very aggressive, as talked about in the last slide. But yeah, starting from the top left, it shows the model trained on 3 DQNs, which were based off random agents. And as you can see, the reward here is mostly negative. This is because I think the model went all in a lot, which is why it wasn't very good. And then the NFSP trained on 3 random agents in the top middle had, like, as you can see, more positive reward, but was similarly aggressive, either raising or going all in most of the time. And then we also created something called a best agent, which used something called the Chen formula, which basically assigned points to a hand based off the values in suits and like closeness of cards. And then, so yeah, depending on their values, they're assigned a higher or lower score. And we trained a DQN on this agent, which is kind of shown in the bottom middle. And this has like a positive sloping high reward. However, this one was also pretty aggressive as it really liked raising half pot and full pot a lot, and it rarely folded. And this was probably because our best player was pretty honest and didn't really bluff if it had bad cards. And then the top right and bottom left NFSP graphs are also based off this model. And these were also negative as well. So this is why we didn't use it in our final model. And then lastly, we also tried implementing a player that did a random action 20% of the time. So it wasn't completely honest. And this is shown in the bottom right. And this is also quite similar to the middle graph. But this was still, and once again, very aggressive and raising and going all in most of the time. So all in all, I guess these models were more overly aggressive than original DQN because the random and best players were not very aggressive, so they could be pretty easily exploited. And then I'm going to talk about the CFR agent we trained, which once again stands for counterfactual regret minimization. And so we trained this model on Leduc Hold'em, and where the performance was based off the NFSP random agent in the past slide. And for those of you that don't know, Leduc Hold'em is a 2-player poker game whose deck contains 6 cards, 2 jacks, 2 queens, and 2 kings, instead of the standard 52 card deck. And in Leduc Hold'em, as opposed to normal Texas Hold'em, the flop is only 1 card, as opposed to the 5 in the actual game. And as a result, this has a much smaller state space, which was helpful when we tried creating our first CFR model. And so yeah, how CFR works on a high level is that every game it revisits past decisions and finds ways to adapt and improve its strategy. And it does this by summing the total amount of regret it has for each action at each decision point. And so then after that, the probabilities of each action will be recomputed to reflect the regret. In this case, more regret is actually a better choice. This is because regret is the potential value minus the current value, and we want to maximize this. So therefore, we want to choose actions with more regret more often in the future. However, we couldn't train this model on no limit hold'em because there was a really large state space, which created a really deep tree. But yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm going to talk about PyPoker Engine and our final web app. So PyPoker Engine was another framework specifically built for Texas Hold'em poker, and we actually experimented with this at the beginning of our project. We found that it allowed more options in terms of like raising and gameplay, but it was more difficult to configure to train agents with. So we ultimately chose RL card instead. But we did test out some different strategies by creating like hard-coded agents. So if you go to the next slide, we created an honest player and a best player as like experiments in the beginning of our project. So the honest player, well, actually it came bundled with PyPoker Engine, and it simulated games to assess its hand strength. So it would take its current hand, simulate 1,000 games, and look at the outcomes depending on different actions it would take. And it wasn't very good because as the name suggests, like it only played good hands and otherwise it folded. And so we then expanded on that by creating a best player that we tried to use to beat the honest player. And it assessed hand strength through the simulation, but we also made it more aggressive by allowing it to raise and go all in if it was more confident in its hand. And yeah. So now our web app. So PyPoker Engine has a very nice GUI that RL Card doesn't have. So after we trained our models in RL Card, we connected those back into the PyPoker Engine GUI, and that is what we will be showing in our demo shortly. So we can have multiple players. We'll have the DQ1 agent and all of you guys playing in a game. And just a review of the actions, you can fold, call, or check, which would be calling with $0. And you can also raise. And when you play in the web app, there will be a min and max raise amount, and you should make sure you enter a value that's in between those, because otherwise it'll automatically fold for you. Also, just a note that the agent can only raise half pot or full pot, but you as human players can choose any amount within the bounds.
And then, so DeepStack actually has a state-of-the-art model for playing No Limit Hold'em at the moment. And this model has impressively beat 11 poker pros head-to-head, and uses what I talked about earlier, counterfactual regret minimization to generate a sparse state tree. And on a very high level, like what this model does is create a neural network that predicts opponents' hand ranges, which are a range of potential cards a player has. And it does this pretty successfully, as shown by the results.
Yeah, great stuff. It's now the moment everyone's been waiting for. You guys can actually try and play against the bot. Okay. Yeah, and then just for the sake of time, you don't have to be, we're not doing this for real money. You don't need to think for 10 hours. It's just a fun game. Also, don't shove all in all the time, because that just ends the game too quickly. Try and be reasonable. I love these names so far, but okay. Last call for new additions before I start. All right, perfect. Try reasonable. Okay, all right, I'm starting it. Okay, right now I'm on fast mode too, so we should put a shot clock on all you guys. Alrighty, I give you the spectator, or the no, not spectator, the commentator. All right. Oh, Richard raises $5. Wow, big bold move. Who's after Richard? Is it Alexi? Oh my God, medium shot raises 50. Jesus Christ, these guys are going ham. All right, J Malga, the only reasonable player here, folds. Who's after him? Okay, we've got another person folding. This is great. This is how you should be playing the game. I was trying to raise it. Oh, yeah. So make sure to raise. That's tough. You make sure to raise in between the range, right? So yeah, it's between 0 and 100. Okay, well, the DQN folded, so our model folded. So at this point, you guys are just playing against each other. So you guys, yeah, go ahead, or at least for this round. So, looks like our model is pretty smart. So I like that. I like that's just validation. It's not gonna call $50 willy nilly. All right, looks like we have okay. So now we have the flop. So we have 3 players going in. We have Richard, Medium Sean, and whoever I Love Nathan is. Richard checks. Yeah, so if you guys want to check, just press I think call or something. Yeah, called 0. That's just checking. Yeah, that's tough, man. And aces. Well, Medium Sean raises $20. So now I think it's on I Love Nathan. Who calls? Bro, only some of you guys can have aces. What is going on here? All right, Richard folds. Now we're heads up. We're going. Oh, the flush makes it. So if someone's holding a flush versus an ace, they are in a good spot. Keep in mind, if you are bust this early, you're gonna be sitting and watching and being sad. Kidding. Because yeah, we want to see the model play. So if you raise too much, the model's gonna get scared, and you're actually at this point. I'm just running a poker tournament. It's not even like a fucking launchpad project anymore. Okay, both players checked. Just kidding. I Love Nathan went all in. No, I'm not paying everyone how much they get. That is not true. That is true. I'm running a poker tournament, so you guys should sign up. Maybe I should debut our model there. Okay. All right. So both players went all in. The river is a queen, and let's see who wins. Someone's definitely out. All right. Let's see. The anticipation is killing me. Did Medium Shot win? Why is my screen frozen? Oh no. Oh yeah, Medium Shot did win. Damn, he had the ace. What the fuck did I Love Nathan have? Nothing.
Who is I Love Nathan?
Yeah, who is he?
Is it David?
Is it David?
It's Benjamin.
Oh.
Not very good.
Well, Benjamin, money ain't working on your poker skills. Okay. All right, everyone. If you guys want to see the model play, don't scare it off. Just do a light call for now. Let's see if we can get the model in the action. Actually, I want to see the model shove. Let's go. I believe in him. All right, a little raise to $5. Yeah, I think after maybe this hand and maybe one more, we're going to restart presentation just for the sake of time. But I know this is very fun. Oh my God. The DQ, what is that?
Bro, I'm taking your money. I'm taking your money. You better watch.
Dude, I don't know. This model is pretty good. All right, let's see it. So the model decides to call $60. Ah, shit. I mean, if the model folded last time to 50, you already know the model's got a nice hand right now. Money moves, exactly. All right, everyone's folding as they should. The model has jack. Nah, I don't know. I think the model is this calls for the people. Okay. All right, Richard's all in. All right, so we have everyone's going to the flop. Wow, 5 people with $60. Jesus Christ. Now we got a side pod because I think Richard is out. All right, come on, model, let's go. All right, ace is on the board. I hope this model plays tight. He's got ace queen. All right, so medium. Sean checks. We got someone shoving already. My goodness. Oh my God. And I call it. Come on, Molly, you can fold. These guys probably have something. Oh my God. The model decided to call as well. Jesus Christ. The model's going to turn over 2-7. All right, let's see who's going to win. Come on, model. You can do this. What does he even have? The DQ had won? Wait. Why are you guys seeing this updated? Why is mine so slow? Wait, what does he have? Let's go! He's got the ace. Oh, let's go. The mall's good. Wow, you guys all trash. Let's go. Dude, what did I say? The mall's not going to call 60 with... See, he had ace... what is that? Ace queen? Didn't I say ace queen? 2-pair? Again, drills the 2-pair with ace queen. You guys, none of you guys had an ace. What the fuck are you guys doing? Okay. All right. That was fun. I'm taking a picture of this. Look at this. The mall is just that good. Okay. I think for the sake of time, though, I know this is very fun, but we're going to start another presentation.